Hello, welcome back to my channel. I have been not feeling great the last few weeks, and I sadly had to take the day off work and go to the doctors. Um, so I cheered myself up by buying some books. I'm gonna do a book haul. Not all of these are from today. They've been past couple outings, but I'll do the ones from today first because I've got some good finds, and then move on. Let me know if you like the book hauls down below. I really enjoy watching book hauls myself, and I enjoy filming them. I think it's really interesting to see what people buy, um, and then see how long it takes for them to read sometimes. Because I definitely know I'm very bad at just buying books, having hundreds of books around and not actually reading them. But yeah, I'll just get on with the books. First off, cannot resist another copy of the Maltese Falcon because this is such a great cover. Even though it has a little bit missing there, it's a great picture of the Maltese Falcon. I don't know if that is actually from the movie, but it's a great mock-up sculpture anyway. Um, and I don't when was this released? This paperback was from 1984, so it's almost as old as me. And then I have James Ellroy, American Tabloid. Guilty Feet. Daniel Guilty Feet has been going on he did made a whole video about him and James Ellroy a few weeks back, which really got me excited to read James Ellroy again. And lo and behold, found this great copy of American Tabloid, and this is what 96, 95. Yeah, it was published in 95. Next up, Canadian writer. I think I have another one of their books, but not actually read it yet. This is L.R. Wright, and this is Menace, and this, I believe, is set out west, British Columbia, yeah. Set up in BC, and it's involves um, the Mounties. This is a little bit interesting. I haven't read a ton of Canadian crime novels, but I want to read. Now that I live in Canada, I want to read as much of them as I can. Another classic that I have previously tried to read, and I don't think I got all the way through it, but I've had copies of it. Joseph Wambaugh's The Chorus Boys. The Quiet Boys, sorry. This is a really weird, I don't know what's happening on this. This is really hard. Like a hard plastic. I don't know if they just like, it's almost like someone just stuck down some um, like polyvinyl or plexiglass or something. It's that hard. It's kind of weird. I think it was Edmonton Institution Library. It's a Dell paperback from the 70s, I believe. Here we go. 1975. Yeah, I heard it's really. I know a lot of people who that's one of their favorite books. Don't know much about this at all. But it's a Soho press, and you know Soho's from the binding. I'm pretty sure the color coding means something because I don't think I have one handy. Um, there's a lot of the ones are blue that I have. Do I have one handy? No, I probably don't. I have quite a few of them. Anytime I see Soho Press, I always get them. Anyway, this is who is it? Rebecca Powell or Pavel? I'm not really sure. I didn't look her up before making this video, but it is set in Spain, 1945. The Civil War has been over for 8 years, but fear of the Red Menace is still prevalent among the members of the Catholic aristocracy of Granada, to which Carlos Tejada belongs by birth. One rich, arrogant, elderly lady summons the police to her estate almost weekly, sure the communists are plotting to kill her. When she is found dead, the long-suffering local police cannot believe that she really may have been murdered. But the rich old lady is Tejada's aunt, and when family influence has him put in charge of the investigation, family loyalty and duty collide. So yeah, interesting. This was written by a winner of the Edgar Award for best first novel. Um, so yeah, I'm very interested to read this. Hopefully it is. I guess it's gonna be more right leaning than I thought, but we'll see. Um, definitely interested in the Spanish Civil War for sure. I always pick up Soho Crime. Uh, I always pick up Soho Crime books when I can. This one got me on the title because it's a great play. Words here, and it is called A Crime of One's Own. Amazing, and that's by Edward Grierson. It's a hardback, 25 cents, and actually it was 50% off if you bought more than $5, and obviously I did. So this cost me like a dime. Crazy. Well, I don't have no idea when this was from. I'm gonna say 30s. Oh, 1967. A lot later than I thought. 1967. I don't know anything about Edward Grierson. I want to say it's probably British, but I don't know. Oh, this sounds great. A Crime of One's Own should add to the yeah, sorry. Donald, the young romantic-minded bookseller and bond addict, becomes gradually convinced that the spy ring is operating his lending library and sets out in the teeth of his fiance's objections to unravel what is going on. The result of this do-it-yourself detection is surprising, at times macabre, a warning to the curious, told with wit and irony and infinite gusto. Whether in the atmosphere of a provincial bookshop, at a literary lunch, or in a courtroom, Mr. Grierson is always at home as he takes his readers along with him towards the spine-chilling climax. Oh, crazy. Yeah, that sounds great. I look forward to reading that. Maybe I'll read that one a bit sooner. It's not the greatest neck, but good for now. Then my haul from, I guess this is 2 other days out, but I think one was at lunchtime at work, and then just the other weekend when we popped out as a celebration for feeling a little bit better, and that was when I was feeling a little bit better for like 2 days, and then I felt crap again with this like chest infection, whatever I have, long COVID. I don't know what it is. So Greg got another bit before I reads. Was reading Earl Stanley Garden today, Perry Mason. So I got a couple of those. I got Rolling Bones and The Case of the Fan Dancer's Horse. These are good fun. Always like a bit of Perry Mason. They're instantly forgettable, but they're a good ride when you're reading them. New Canadian classic, which is this, I believe, in the 60s or 70s, there was this kind of... Oh, this was, yeah, maybe they started in the 70s or 80s. It was just kind of a initiative to try and print some Canadian classics that they thought deserved a better readership amongst Canadians, and just kind of really push kind of a national library type thing, a bit of a kind of literary culture. And it was all by McClelland and Stewart, which I think was one of the major. They got like bought out by Beetleman's or something, and it was a big. It was a big fanfare and what, I can't think of the word. My mind is addled. It was a controversy here in Canada. Anyway, this is The Tent Beg by Aretha Van Herk. It sounds interesting. Don't know too much about her. Never heard of her, but I'll be interested to read that eventually. Got me some Nick Carter book. Nick Carter. Oh, this is great. So step back. Nick Carter's an old character from, I think, like the Penny Dreadful kind of dime novel days in like late 1800s, and then progressed into this more cheesy spy character James Bond. And it even says on the front cover, the step back review bit, Nick Carter outbonds James Bond. Very much kind of Americanized, cheesy. This is, what is this, three suspense thrillers in one book for the 100th Killmaster novel of espionage and suspense. So I know a lot of people who like men's adventure stuff who rave about Nick Carter, so Happy to find that for $1. Amazing. And I think this is actually 50% off at this store too, so it's probably about 50 cents. This sounded really interesting. I didn't really know much about it, but the time period and the setting is very much of interest to me. This is Los Alamos by Joseph Cannon. In a dusty remote community of secretly constructed buildings and awesome possibility, the world's most brilliant minds have come together, their mission to split an atom and end a war. But among those who have come to rob up Oppenheimer's enchanted campus of foreign-born scientists, baffled guards, and restless wives, is a simple man, an unraveler of human secrets, a man in search of a killer. It is the spring of 1945, and Michael Connelly has been sent to Los Alamos to investigate the murder of a security officer on the Manhattan Project. But amid the glimmering cocktail parties and the staggering genius, Connelly will find more than he bargained for. Sleeping in a dead man's bed and making love to another man's wife, Connelly has entered the moral no man's land of Los Alamos. For in this place of discovery and secrecy, hope and horror, Connelly is plunged into a shadowy war with the killer, as the world is about to be changed forever. So yeah, I love me kind of anything around the war, post-war, pre-war, um, anything to do with science and crime and science is always a good combination for me. And the Manhattan Project, yeah, it was a really interesting, interesting time to read about and set a crime thriller against. So yeah, I'm very interested in that. I got the first Jack Reacher novel, Killing Floor by Lee Child. Still haven't read a Jack Reacher, even though they are very popular, very much beloved. I consider myself a connoisseur of crime, but I am very lacking in reading the novel, the crime. I'm very a connoisseur of crime and thrillers. I'm very behind on reading the modern one, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. So this is part of my project to read some more contemporary. This was just a kind of a bit of a lull, so this must have been 50% off. It's $1. It's a Jessica Fletcher novel. So basically they wrote tie-in. I don't know if they're not so much tie-ins, but they're like I don't know if they fictionalized the actual this any of the episodes, but they're like adjacent. So this one's set in Scotland. I couldn't resist it. But the Highland Fling murders. These are written by who are they written by? John. They're written Jessica Fletcher and Donald Bain. So I think they're written as if Jessica Fletcher was actually writing them. So they're not. It's not so much like they're not novelizations of the episodes, but more that they're the books that Jessica Fletcher wrote in between doing her amateur sleuthing, which seemed to take up the majority of her time. I don't know where the woman had time to actually become a hugely successful novelist in between all the sleuthing and the dead bodies and the watching Archer. But yeah, it should be a fun read. I heard they're good, fun. Melvin Burgess, Junk. This is a big. I remember this in the '90s when it first came out, being quite a talked about book. I don't know. Was it? I don't know if it was. It was winner of the Guardian Fiction Award and the Carnegie Medal. I don't know if it got any nominated for anything else. But it was on being talked about a lot. Yeah, it was controversial for sure. 1997. Oh, sorry, he didn't win the Is the Carnegie Medal for children's? I can never remember. But yeah, this guy was a children's. He was a children's author. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, what did win the? It did this. Okay, this did win the Carnegie Medal. It was considered. I guess it was. I guess it was kind of probably YA before YA was a thing, maybe, or middle grade. I don't know. When you have middle grade in the UK. I remember this as when I was a kid, and I do generally read fiction about drug addicts. I have a lot of Urban Welsh over there, um, and I've like read William Burroughs, which is probably autofiction at the best, I guess. Um, read his junk, which I highly recommend actually, as a if you kind of want to get an experience what it is like being a heroin addict, I guess. I don't know from personal experience, but I certainly have known my fair share, including a couple of friends. So I have a little bit of a experience with it, I guess. Anyway, moving on, talking about contemporary crime fiction to that I need to catch up on. Yeah, I guess it's contemporary in my sense of contemporary. It's from 1982, and the English translation was in the early 2000s. But it's Henning Mankell, The Dogs of Riga. Obviously, one of the big names of Scandi noir, and probably the novelist that really brought the modern Scandi noir into, at least into the British publishing. I feel like Henning Mankell came out, and then the Stieg Larsson Millennium series blew it right up, and then anyone who was Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish, even Icelandic, even though that's not part of Scandinavia, was just any crime novels that was just getting published after that, and it was quite the boon for translated crime fiction, which is always good fun. Uh, it's not often you get a lot of genre fiction translated, especially like true genre fiction. You'll get like literary genre fiction translated quite often, just because it has that more of that literary appeal, and I feel like translated works are much more sought after in literary circles, whereas I guess genre fiction is the homegrown genre, especially in the English language. It's so abundant, and that you kind of um, don't need translated fiction to fill any voids, and it's generally not like I don't want to say good enough, but it's generally not of the ilk that it's kind of culturally important. Yeah, obviously the Stieg Larsson um, stories really transcended the genre and became culturally important. So that's really kind of why they were so popular, especially with the movies and that. But anyway, I'll move on. That was another, yeah, that was from my work lunchtime, feeling sorry for myself, and then this is the last few books from a couple weeks ago. I think we went out on the weekend. Got the Sue Grafton Days for Alibi, the first book of the Kinsey Millhone Kinsey Millhone series. Particularly kind of been looking out for these because of Greg at Supposedly Fun. Was it last year? Was kind of working his way through all of them. He's a fan. Graham Greene. It's a battlefield about a communist bus driver, which is always fun. I love Graham Greene. I don't know if it's a Catholic thing or not. His books are generally dripped in Catholic guilt, even though he was only a convert, but very much obsessed with Catholicism. But he has a wicked sense of humor, and also just for me, I really like the genre pieces, like his fun pieces. He kind of said I wrote a serious one and a fun one, and his genre, like the his I mean, Brighton Rock's kind of in between. It's kind of both, really. I find they're very cinematic, um, and a lot of them have been filmed. So yeah, I really enjoy his writing. So I try not to drink on camera, but I'm just because of my throat and my chest. It's a bit hard not to, but I'm just trying to get through this quickly. Oh shoot, Michael Slade, Death's Door. This is probably part of the what is it called? Something X series. Criminality turned me on to these. They are Canadian Canadian crime slash horror. It's kind of, I guess it's in between. I have no idea if this is part of the series or not. A mummy has been stolen in England. Authorities believe the motive is the treasure hidden in its fetid, that's a great word, fetid wrappings. They're wrong. Mutilated bodies of young runaways are discovered washed ashore on Vancouver beaches. Authorities think they're victims of a random serial killer. They're wrong. When Chief Superintendent Robert de Klerk and his team follow a clue to an underground snuff film operation, they believe they've encountered man's sickest desires. They're wrong. Something even more cunning, even more depraved is waiting for them if they have the guts to follow the clues through death's door. Well, it's got a link from Fangoria, so I think. Sorry, a link. It's got a quote from Fangoria and from book comparing it as a genuine rival to Stephen King. So I think this is probably more on the horror side. It does sound pretty good though. I have another Michael Slade like swastika, so I'm very interested to check him out. Fever Pitch by Nick Hornby. I am not a fan of Nick Hornby, like as a person. He's been into he was huge, so big in the 90s. Even before his movies got made, even before his books got made into movies, he was like up there with Irvin Welsh, probably even maybe even bigger than Irvin Welsh. It was Nick Hornby and what was the other guy? Who was also Tony Parsons. They were huge, kind of literary sensations. And Fever Pitch, the two books that everyone read and raved about, in my circles were Fever Pitch because of it being about football fanaticism, and what was the other one? The other one about the record store. Completely forgot its name. The one the guy works in a record store because I'm into records and that. And yeah, I've never read either of them because I never liked them. But I figured for what, probably 50 cents, $1.50 at most, then it's probably well worth seeing what it's all about, I guess. And he was an Arsenal fan, so that also makes him very much unlikable to me. Okay, last couple. Lawrence Block, Walk Among the Tombstones. This is a very weird call from Hard Case Crime. I obviously have my issues with Hard Case Crime. See, basically, any video, any book haul video probably. Anything that I discuss paperbacks, I will probably mention Hard Cases Crime's terrible decisions. But why did they use? I mean, I'm not against. What do you call it? I'm not against using stills from films, having movie tie-ins, but the whole thing with Hard Case Crime was they brought back the kind of pulpy style. These are like newly commissioned for Hard Case Crime books for these re-releases. But they brought back the pulpy style. This isn't cheap, but for people who love this sort of stuff, they rave about these covers. This is their calling card, because other reprint people were just doing shit like this, or even worse. If you've seen any of the Matt Helm books, just kind of like stock him like clip art essentially. So I have no idea why they did that, but it'll be interesting. That's like I have a few Lawrence Blocks down here. I got one when he was. I got one from. This is a Hard Case Crime. Exactly. This is how they've previously published Lawrence Block. This is from when he wrote under Jill Emerson and wrote Sleaze. I guess it's Sleaze, and most Sleaze novels are just kind of sexy crime novels to us. Yeah, but so interested. I've not been the biggest fan of Lawrence Block in particular, but there was a couple ones that I thought were right. So I'll see, keep going and see how it is. And then the last one, Maggie and Me by Damien Barr, and this was published by House of Anansi. My friend used to work for them, so I still have a little bit of a soft spot uh, for them as a publisher. It's just a good indie publisher in Toronto. This one sounds great though because it's kind of about someone growing up in Thatcher era Scotland. They went on to become a journalist. Uh, I'll read the thing for you. It's October 12th, 1984. An IRA bomb blows apart the Grand Hotel in Brighton. Miraculously, Margaret Thatcher survives. In Glasgow, Damien Barr watches in horror as his mom rips her wedding ring off and packs their bags. He's only 8 years old, but already he knows he too must survive. Damien, his sister, and his Catholic mom move in with her sinister new boyfriend, a red-faced man who scares the very air around him. His Protestant dad shacks up with Mary the Canary, who sings country and western and makes herself 10 inches taller with Dolly Parton curls and helter-skelter heels. Divided by sectarian suspicion, the community is held together by the sprawling Ravenscraig Steelworks, where Damien's dad makes the vast furnaces glow red, guaranteeing 2 sunsets every night. But darkness threatens as Maggie takes hold. She snatches school milk, smashes the unions, and makes greed good. She always says that if you just work hard enough, you can get away. Damien plans his escape, finding sanctuary into the school library and solace at Carfin Grotto, where he chats directly with the Virgin Mary. But one day, as his dad mans the picket lines, his mom is rushed to hospital. Now there is no one to protect him from the boyfriend who terrorizes the boy for preferring books to football. Yet somehow, despite the violent strikes, AIDS, and Clause 28, Damien manages to fall in love, dance Medulla in Glasgow's only gay club, and discover that stories can save your life. Inspiring, touching, and darkly witty, Maggie and Me is a remarkable memoir about surviving Thatcher's Britain, a story of growing up gay in a straight world, and being clever enough to come out the other side in spite of, and maybe because of, the Iron Lady. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff I lived through, I was just a wee boy in the 80s, but 80s in Britain was a tough time, so a lot of it does resonate and kind of in the zeitgeist, and it was still very much talked. The 80s, a lot of what the legacy of the 80s was very much still talked about throughout the 90s, and still well into the Tony Blair, and even now, people are still talking about the Margaret Thatcher legacy, especially with Brexit, because it was kind of I don't think it was Ted Heath that put Britain into the EU, but a lot of the kind of important stuff and a lot of the good things that happened in Europe happened under Margaret Thatcher. Um, just because just the forming of it, and then just this Euro came in during Tony Blair, but yeah, it was very very much still a hated figure. It's still very much now a hated figure. When she died, there was people dancing in the streets. It was kind of crazy. I think I was in London. I think I might have been visiting London around the time, which was kind of a little bit unique. But yeah, definitely in Scotland, uh, it was celebrated. There's people had parties. People had parties when she died. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I heard it's a pretty good book. But that's it. That's it. And maybe I'll have a little bit more win to do a tag video or something later. But that was quite fun. I enjoyed that. So yeah, let me know what you think about book hauls, and if you'd like me to do them again whenever I get them. I do tend to buy too many books, so I'm sure I'll have some more books soon. But yeah, see you all soon. Bye.